Hey, if this is your first time watching, I am Bernadette L. Harris. I am a small business accountant with over 20 years of experience. And clients come to me, or business owners come to me when they are ready to grow their businesses. I am committed to keeping small business in business. And this is our 15 Minutes of Fire. 15 Minutes of Fire is a session where I share some information that is going to help you to make the right decisions or better decisions in your business. So tonight we're talking about some of the tips and tricks and keys and things that you should consider when selecting a bank. One of the questions that I get all the time from small business owners, whether they are new in business or just new with working with me, is which bank should I bank at? And my answer to that question is always, it depends. And there are several things or several variables that play into your decision as to which bank actually makes the most sense for you. So let's talk about them. And again, there's no one size fits all. It really just depends on whatever it is that you need in your business. So when you think about your business, one of the things that I always ask business owners is, will you have to go into the bank? And so do you have a business where you are collecting money or checks or, and you will have to go into the bank to make physical deposits? If that is the case and you have to actually go into the bank, then you want to definitely select a bank that is convenient, either something that's close to your place of business or something that is close to your home, so that when you are making these trips to the bank, it's convenient, right? You don't want it to be something that's inconvenient. So that could be a restaurant. If you have a restaurant, then of course you're going to have to go to the bank because sometimes people pay with cash. Everybody's not paying with card unless you only take cards. I've seen that where there are some restaurants that only take cards because they don't want to deal with the possible employee theft that goes along with cash or getting robbed, right? That's a real thing. And so if you need to go into the bank, that's one of the considerations that you would, take. One of the things that you would take into consideration when you're selecting a bank, finding something that is close to you. The other thing is to think about, like, what are some of the bells and whistles that you need? A lot of times banks have features that we don't even use, like stuff that we don't even use. Like, I can't think of any right now. I just went completely blank. But think about, like, there are some banks that are very, very high tech, right? They have all these different features. Maybe they come with credit monitoring and things like that, and you don't necessarily need. I know, like my bank, it comes with credit monitoring, and I'm like, I got enough credit monitoring. I wish I could cash some of this credit monitoring in for something else because I don't need nobody else helping me to monitor my credit. But that's a feature that comes with my bank. And so you want to think about some of the bells and whistles that you need. So the one question is, brick and mortar bank or online bank? An online bank is ideal for a business that probably never gets checks or rarely gets checks or cash from customers. And maybe all of your customers are paying online. This could be true for like an e-commerce business or a service-based business. Like my business, 99% of my payments are credit cards. Occasionally, I have a few elderly clients who may mail in a check or something. But now that we're not doing tax prep, I don't anticipate that being a big thing. So because most of my payments are online, via credit card, so I just get direct deposits in my account after I've gotten paid from clients or whatever. I don't need a bank that I can physically go to. And so an online bank in my situation works, or online bank in a 100% e-commerce business works because you don't have to physically go in. Now, there are some other things that you want to think about when you're looking at banks. And one thing that I always tell my clients is, depending on the accounting software that you use for your business, and I'm actually going to be talking more about that in next week's 15 Minutes of Fire, but depending on the accounting software that you use, you might want to consider using a bank that has an integration with that software. So, for instance, in my firm, we use QuickBooks exclusively. And so, with QuickBooks, you want to know, like, does this bank have an integration with QuickBooks? Because it's going to make life easier when it comes to your bookkeeping or your accounting or things like that. There are also some banks that don't really have a good integration with QuickBooks, and so they integrate they connect to QuickBooks, but maybe they don't stay connected to QuickBooks, or you are constantly having to reconnect to QuickBooks. So that's something that you want to think about. And when I am working with new clients and we're bringing them on or setting them up in QuickBooks for the first time, if they are banking, I know the banks that work really well with QuickBooks and the banks that don't. And so if they're banking with one of the banks that don't work really well with QuickBooks, I just let them know, hey, this is going to be a headache for you if you're okay with it. Like if the bank has features that you're already using that you need, that make sense to you, stay with them. But if not, you might want to consider one of these other banks. The other thing that you want to consider is your personal banking relationship. Sometimes, I've heard clients say that they want their business bank account to be somewhere different from their personal account. And there's actually some benefits to having your business and personal accounts at the same bank. And it also depends on the bank. Some of those benefits are that, one, you have a bigger portfolio, right? And so when you have that bigger portfolio and they see more activity, they're more apt to give you better services or better rates on different things. And so that can also help you. I think that I purchased a car in 2021. And I think when I purchased that car, the fact that I have my business accounts and my personal accounts at one bank, and when I went to get financing for that car, I think that helped me. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know, they didn't tell me that, but I got a very, very good interest rate on my loan. And they also approved me for a really high amount. I didn't max it out or anything like that, but I'm just thinking that because I had that relationship with that bank, then it kind of helped to have that. The other thing that is good about having my business and personal account at the same bank is if I need to, I can make transfers from my business account to my personal account and vice versa if I need to. Like one time I actually paid a business bill with my personal account. I don't know how I did. I have a credit card with my bank, and I paid the credit card, but I was paying bills early in the morning, which I said I'm not doing that anymore because I make too many mistakes. My eyes aren't even focused that well. But I actually paid my business credit card with my personal account. And so because I had to do that, then I had to reimburse my personal account from my business account because that was my personal money and it should have come from the business account. So having a bank account, my personal account and my business account at the same bank was helpful because we don't have to do that whole check writing thing, right? So if I have to transfer money from one account to another, it's very, very easy. I'm able to do that in a matter of seconds. Another thing that you want to think about is, do you want a relationship with the bank? Like, do you want to have a bank where you could actually walk into the bank and somebody knows you or something like that? And usually if that's the case, and that's not a bad thing, if that is the case, you want to have an account with a local small banks, like some of the community banks, not necessarily the big banks. And I'm not calling any names in this video, but some of the bigger banks, the larger commercial banks may not be able to give you that one-on-one service. So I remember, like I said, I have an online bank account. That's where the majority of my money is for my business and personal. But I also, before I left the United States, I also have an account with a local bank in Atlanta. And with that local bank, I literally had a person that if I had any issues or if anything was happening, I could email that person and they would just take care of it for me. Or I could walk into the bank and they would take care of it for me. And so having that personal relationship is priceless, because at the same time, I was also able to get a business credit card with this account with a very high limit. And it was just nice to be able to have something like that. In fact, now that I think about it, the bank where I have all my money, most of my money, my credit card limit is lower than the bank where I have some of my money. I might have to revisit some of this. And so those are some of the things that you want to think about. Also, you want to think about, will you need lending, right? So will you want to take out a business loan or a business line of credit? If that is the case, you may also want to look into an account or a bank that is more small business friendly. And what I found is that usually happens with credit unions and some of the smaller banks. They're a little small business friendly. The last thing that I would say that you want to consider is, do you bank across states? So let's say, for instance, if you're a speaker and you travel across the country, or you are an international speaker, you travel all over and people paying you with checks. I don't know if that still happens, but or you just need to be able to bank internationally. Then you want to look to make sure that you have a bank that's going to be friendly to your international travels or your interstate travels. And so if you're traveling from state to state, let's say maybe you do a lot of work up and down the East Coast, you might consider banking with a bank that has branches up and down the East Coast. So what the whole moral of this whole 15 minutes of fire is that when you are selecting a bank, you want to look at what your particular needs are and then find a bank that is going to meet all or most of those needs. And so what do you need a physical location? Do you prefer to have something online, or you don't need a physical location? Do you need a bank where you can pick up the phone and call somebody or shoot somebody an email and get something done? Or are you fine with calling customer service and just getting whoever answers the phone to take care of whatever it is that you need to be taken care of? Will you have lending needs? And if you do, you want to bank at a bank that is going to be small business friendly and being able to provide you with a bank. And then you also want to look at where you have your personal banking relationship and whether or not you want to continue or have your business and personal accounts on those at that same bank. The last thing that I'm going to say about banks is probably not necessarily to banks, but what I want to say is make sure that you have a business bank account. Even if your business is a sole proprietorship, have a separate account and run all of your business income and expenses through that account. I have another video where I talk about the dangers of commingling, and a lot of small business owners mess themselves up by commingling funds. And in the event of litigation or anything like that, commingling funds is one of the biggest things that will hurt you in that situation. And so you want to make sure that you are doing things the right way. The other thing is, don't open too many accounts. Don't open more accounts than you need. All it does is complicate your bookkeeping. It probably will make your bookkeeping cost more because your bookkeeper or accountant has more accounts to reconcile. So open the accounts that you need. So I have a business savings account. I have a business checking account. My general checking account is where all my deposits go. So every sale that I get is deposited into that account. And then I have a payroll account. And from that payroll account, that's where I pay my team from that account. My savings, I actually have two savings accounts because I sometimes have a retainer that my clients pay me. And so when my clients pay by retainer, I put their retainer in a separate savings account that's separate from my actual business savings account. So for my business, I have 4 accounts. And again, I just like to keep it simple. Those two, the savings accounts generally have 0 to no transactions. The checking account, the business checking account is mostly deposits. So it's deposits and me paying my credit card bill, because I pay for all my expenses on the credit card, get my points, and then I pay it off from my general checking account. So keep your books as simple as possible and only open as many accounts as you need. There are some successful business owners that have 1 bank account. So, do what feels good to you based on the needs of your company. And that's that. So thanks again for hanging out with me today. I will see you guys next week.